Rock and roll. Yo, what's good?
What's up?
So we're on the third episode of this season of Figure It Out.
Season 3, episode 2. What are we figuring out today?
Season 2, episode 3.
Yeah. Did I say season 3, episode 2?
Yeah. So, 23. Hey, remember that? Speaking of
I've been
20,
dyslexic all day. I don't know.
remember that really bad movie with Jim Carrey?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we're not going to talk about that today. Actually, our topic.
Well, this started off with me talking about if like there was suddenly no electricity on Earth, but then we're talking about situations where something like that might actually happen.
Yeah. And
like some sort of EMP or solar flare, like a huge solar flare, possibly.
Yeah.
Highly unlikely, but
I mean, if a lightning storm were to somehow have enough energy, it could pose as a EMP blast that could take out things, you know.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, I don't know. That's according to Wikipedia. I don't know where they fact source that at.
Yeah. We'll take that with a grain of salt, I suppose.
Yeah, that was a really quick gander. I mean,
it's like if thunderstorms were 100 times stronger, they could cause EMP.
Wait, sorry, what'd you say? We were talking at the same time.
My bad. I was like, if thunderstorms were 100 times stronger, they could create an EMP large enough to actually do some damage.
Like, yeah, or if it
would have to be for that to actually work.
The thunderstorm of the century.
The perfect thunderstorm.
The perfect thunderstorm. I like it. So yeah. So one of my first questions when Steven and I got into this conversation was like, yo, well, what about phones? Which really just gives an inkling into my mind of how addicted I am. and Steven's like, no, if I had no phones. He's like, all the satellites are down. And I was like, well, what about landlines? He's like, no, but it would still need electricity. I was like, well, what if my car has a phone? What about the landline?
Or would my car even work? But
right.
I did do some quick research on what a magnetic pulse would do to cars and cell phones and stuff like that. So that was interesting. It turns out if it were like an EMP sort of situation, most cars would still be fine. They did a test back in 2004. And I'm getting this. I got my information from LifeWire.com and AskAPrepper.com. So that's where I'm reading this off of. Most cars 2004 and earlier would be fine. Even they were saying that they tried a recreation of an electromagnetic pulse on 37 different vehicles. Mm-hmm. And some of them they did it with the car running, and some they did it with the car off. And every car that was hit by an EMP with the car off started up just fine. Every car that was hit while it was running, of all the cars that were hit while running, some of them stalled or stopped, and the rest, their electronics might have malfunctioned a little bit at first, but kept running. The ones that stalled started back up again, and like I said, some of the electronic equipment might have had some damage, but for the most part, the car's still functional. So, cell
Yeah, 'cause
phone.
I know that was one of my questions of like, well, like, because newer cars, even though they're more electronic, um, usually those are more so to like, the luxury items rather than the overall functionality of the car. Although
Hmm.
more and more so, it's getting to be where those electronics are just tied into everything anyway. So it
Right.
pretty much be a lemon.
Hmm. The more wires there are in there, the worse it can be, because the wires almost act as what was the word? Like they act as like an antenna for the EMP, and then it just, it's like strengthens the EMP again. So the more wires in the vehicle, the worse it'd be for the electronics in there too. So that was interesting.
Mm.
Cell phones, anything actually battery operated should still be able to work, as long as it was inside like a concrete building or under like a tin roof, or a metal roof. Any building with a metal roof should be able
So,
to
so
use.
cell phones still could potentially work, just only if they were
even
in a really safe.
even outside, they could still potentially work, but they're more likely to work if they're in yeah, and like I said, a concrete enclosed building or a metal roofed building. Which
Is
is
it?
kind of like the recreation of a Faraday cage, which is basically a, I don't know if you know what a Faraday cage is.
Yeah. Actually, I actually worked at this place where they had a Faraday box, like that they kind of made a. If they caught anyone on their cell phones, then your phone would have to go in the Faraday box so that you couldn't use
Well, it's safe there from an EMP while it's in there.
it. Yeah.
Um,
It was really.
yeah,
I don't know how well that one would have worked. It was a pretty makeshift Faraday box.
it it doesn't take much. You really just need a metal box, and then inside the box needs some sort of insulation so that the electronics aren't touching the metal, and then the EMP would only affect the outside of the box, basically. So
Hmm.
it would save anything inside the box, as long, like I said, as long as none of the electronics are actually touching the metal part of the box. It all should be
As
safe.
long as we know when doomsday is coming, we're able to safeguard our phones.
I think maybe you just have a backup phone in a Faraday cage, maybe. Uh,
Yeah, but then still begs the question, because being that all the satellites and stuff would be took out, would that be, so would they even be able to have like reception as far as calling other people, or?
yeah, that would be an issue. And with cars, I mean, with you know, no grid or anything like that, because the grid would be the most affected. Um, Without any power supply, there'd be no way to pump more gas, so you'd pretty quickly run out of gasoline. And then with phones, yeah, even solar flares. There's been solar flares strong enough in present day that have been recorded that have damaged satellites and made it difficult to um, make phone calls and whatnot. So shit does happen.
Hmm.
Oh, it's fun to think about stuff like that, even if it's highly unlikely.
Yeah, so our modern age technology though is pretty um it's pretty well proved, that kind of thing. Then
Um,
you're saying that it would still,
Sorry, I got bad allergies.
it'd
It's
still
hitting me
be
already.
possible to potentially make calls if they didn't get damaged enough.
Yeah, well, it depend on how the EMP hit, I suppose. If it was a solar flare, that would probably, if it was a solar flare strong enough to affect us on Earth, then it definitely would have affected the satellites, and they would be gone anyways. But if it was an attack, like an EMP attack from another country, um, then then in that situation, then perhaps the the satellites would probably be okay, I would assume. I'm no expert on this. But I'm assuming if the blasts go off inside the atmosphere, it's not going to affect
live wire, and so and then well, and I'd imagine the bigger oil companies, they would have like reserve power too. So how so in regards to being able to pump gas once you go out, do you think those would the backup power supplies, would those hold up, or would they be wiped out as well?
It affects the electronics. So I mean, it all depends on how the electronics are made. Yeah, anything with complicated circuitry is gonna be fucked, pretty much. So all our newer stuff. So like our cell phones now, I couldn't say for sure if they were outside because of the how complicated they are now and all the stuff they do now, that maybe they wouldn't be so well protected. But yeah, it's hard to say.
So do you think this would have a greater or lesser effect on climate change than farting cows?
I don't understand the question. Would what have a greater effect?
So, according to
farting cows is pretty serious, and I really think we should.
Yeah, according to AOC, if we don't kill all the farting cows, within a decade, we're all gonna die to climate change. So, I mean,
without electricity,
wouldn't that kind of like cancel out that damage? So I think we need more.
Going back to coal,
and then we could have more farting cows. We could average out the average out the kill effect.
I think either way we go, I think we should just kill all the cows anyways. But I mean, it could also be a negative effect as far as maybe we wind up should we not be able to use electronics anymore, which was my original idea. If there were no electronics anymore, all of a sudden one day everything works, the next day nothing works. There's no electricity, no electronics work.
Well, I did have a grassroots program.
In that situation, I think that
no,
well, we'd have to go back to gas and coal power, right? Then we're burning up a bunch of shit and putting all that sort of pollution back into the air. So maybe it would, maybe save the cows.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah,
the cows had nothing to do with it.
Well, we can use the cow farts to power everything, and then we could save the cows.
Renewable energy. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. Or we could go back to my original plan of killing all the cows, and which I actually commissioned this before AOC came out with it, but the Indian mafia put a stop to me really quick. So that's how that went.
Yeah. Now we're assuming everybody knows what an EMP is, an electromagnetic pulse is, right? This day and age is pretty commonly known.
Our audience is smart, yo. They research random shit like we do.
Or you could just watch like Ocean's 11 or something.
I mean, this is what else do you do in the first world but like learn random shit?
True.
We have like all the information at our fingertips. I mean, might as well learn useless information because actually I shouldn't say it. I mean, useful information because we will be the most prepared when the EMP blast does come. And because the other problem I have with this is like, all my books though, Because see, here's the other thing. Once the EMP blast does hit, I'm going to instantly be stupider because most of my books are on electronics now.
Audiobook in it.
Yeah, it gets tiring lugging around a bunch of book bags everywhere I get, because I travel a lot. So, like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Convenience is the devil's plaything. So now all my books are on electronics, and I'm gonna instantly lose about 50 IQ points when the EMP blast goes on. I don't actually, retain any of the facts. I just have the books there for like looks. So then, like, if someone asks me something, then I could go to the book and be like,
You got it all figured out until that EMP hits.
I swear that's what happens when like people argue with you on like they're going to like websites as they talk to you, and it's like, wait, dude, like I thought we were using like our own thoughts, and like they'll like quote you something in like the New York Times. It's like, really, like that's where you get your wisdom, the New York Times.
Well, I don't go to the internet for wisdom. I go for facts. I go to look up facts. Like if I'm not sure about something, or if I do say something before I actually know whether or not I'm know what I'm talking about, I do that sometimes.
Well, Steven, you make up your facts, but we have alternative facts.
I like to make sure that I'm right, before I say that I'm right.
But can you ever really be right? I mean, because what's AOC's wise words? Where like, you can be doing right while factually wrong, or we could be right to be morally right while factually wrong.
You're asking the wrong person. I looked her up one time when you told me about her originally, and I immediately forgot most of what she said. So
that's probably
none of that shit stuck, except for get rid of all the cows. I remember that part.
I mean, it was the only sensible thing in the proposal, really.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Dude, the price of steak could go way down.
Mean,
at first it go down, then it go way up, wouldn't it?
I'd gladly volunteer to eat most of the cows.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like give me one of them cows.
Yeah. 2. I'll eat that fucker up, and then like, yeah, that causes like that'll like, 2 birds get stoned.
I get stoned, you get stoned, cow gets ate.
Which, by the way, is an amazing song by Bob Dylan. Because everybody must get stoned. You heard that one?
No.
All the strippers used to dance to it back in the days.
I rarely went to strip clubs.
Oh, I don't think I was alive when strippers would have been dancing to that. I was just told this from apparently people who went to strip clubs and listened to Bob Dylan. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to get online now and look it up.
I can't source this, but this has been passed down to me.
We need to fact check this.
In the will of wisdom,
This has to be fact checked.
Although I will say the spokes probably have a branch in it, but around and around we go.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So in the event that the world does suddenly lose all of its electricity and electronics and cars.
So it would be the world in this event, or would it just be us? Like, is this a solar flare one where the whole world is affected, or is it like a enemy attack where it's like, yo, those those Americans can't do crap without their technology.
I'm gonna say world. I want the whole world to be sent back to the 1800s overnight.
Yeah, well,
everybody's by candlelight. Nobody has any idea what's going on because nobody can communicate quickly. We don't know how to use
yeah, no, that's not going to let you know.
Or even write a letter properly. So we'd be fucked as far as communication goes, going by word of mouth, and by the time
Well, the thing is here, you want to be at a Catholic friend's house because we have all the candles. So
that's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm talking about because how do we even function as a country anymore if we can't communicate with each other? You know what I mean?
Well, I think we'd function a lot better. I don't think communication has helped us at all. Because let me clarify on that. Because communication is just, getting my abstract thought bubbles so that you understand what they may be. But if those aren't in connection to your abstract thought bubbles, then we're not even really communicating. And I feel like the more advanced we've got in being able to communicate, the less people are actually communicating, because the more they're relying on those gaps rather than the bridges. And so I think our communication has actually dwindled due to that effect.
I get what you're saying there.
I'm only being half facetious. This is just kind of like an idea that I'm rummaging through. I'm just like,
I know you're half joking. I'm listening to the part where you're serious, or because I know that part of you is being serious too. But that's part of what makes it funny. No, I get that obviously socially it's become an issue, but I mean, like, as far as getting shit done communication wise, when it takes weeks to get a message across the country, like, how are we supposed to know what the president wants us to do over here on the West Coast when we gotta wait?
Well, that would actually make our tax dollars more efficient, though, because we do have a lot of public office jobs right now still that have been antiquated for like hundreds of years. That like, there's people who are supposed to communicate one thing to a certain office, but now with everything that we could send an email in 5 seconds. Those jobs aren't needed anymore. We don't need a person who, back in the day would go on horseback from Virginia to DC to relay information. We don't need that person anymore, yet we still have that position that we're paying with our taxes. You know what I mean? They're sitting there and 5-second email for the same job that they used to go back and forth on horseback constantly to. You know what I mean? It's
right.
Like, have those things. So,
well, you only need like one or two.
So then at least the government would be, they'd be working for their pay.
We hope.
or we could just cut those frivolous.
Maybe we just do our own thing out here in California, just be the Wild Wild West again.
Yeah, no, and you know what? It would actually make it would bring back the eminence of states' rights, because we should be doing what everybody should be doing with it. Well, there's too much federal, that's the other thing with all the communication. It makes it too much easier for the federal government to have like all these globalist ties on like what every section's doing. Then let that little hick town in Kentucky be that little hick town in Kentucky and do their own thing. You know what I mean? There'd be no interference from anyone else, and they would fucking thrive. I think more so because they wouldn't have California telling them what to do when California has no clue how freaking some town in Kentucky should be living. You know?
True. It sounds to me like you're kind of open to this idea of no electricity, no electronics.
Yes, go EMP lab. Let's go. Dark Ages. I love it. Only to be enlightened, though. Only to be enlightened. Well, in which case, I'm only going with like I don't know. I'm I always had that dark sense of humor. Like we'd be like down on the brink of falling into the edge of oblivion, and I'll find a way to joke about it. But
I feel like if I realize I'm about to die, I'm gonna say something funny.
yeah, that just gave me like
it's inevitable, and I'm fucked, and I know it. I'm gonna say something funny right before
a thought flashed in my head, like I just had like some epic like sword battle. I killed a few of their warriors, but one of their guys slashed me, and I'm on my knees. I'm like, and he's like, beg for your life, and I'm like, I saw your mother in a blast last night, and it was pitiful, like and like beheads me, but like I get the last laugh as like my head goes like rolling down the hill.
Still laughing.
Yeah, exactly. Because which would only add to the hilarity of the absurdity of it, to have my head bouncing away and laughing. Like, I just think that would be a prime way to go
out. Something like that,
yeah. And so it was sad.
I don't know if I went back to like medieval times in mine, but I was thinking more like if I was about to fall off a cliff or something like that. Just yell something as I'm going down,
What would you yell going down?
Oh, I was thinking of that just the other day because that's what made me think of it right now. I was just thinking about it the other day, and I cannot remember I had some hella funny that I had thought of, but I cannot think of it right now. But yeah, just the thought of that cracks me up.
Well, any wrap up thoughts? Here, we got a couple minutes.
Well, it sounds like we're leaning towards go EMP. I better start doomsday prepping. So I'm not ready.
Hey, come down here, man. I got a bunker. I'm totally joking.
Oh man, that's something worth investing in though, for sure. If I can ever afford it, I would definitely get the most badass bunker I could afford. It would be my man cave that could be easily transformed into a bunker. Be something like that.
Yeah, and our like cell phones would still work down there, so you could get our addiction fix.
I get radios. Radios would be fine. We'd be like kids again on the walkie-talkies.
But you mean radio just each other?
Yeah.
I was like, who are we going to listen to on the radio? Everybody would be down.
Well, I mean, anybody else who has a CB radio or other sort of...
anyone else who has a bunker and then makes themselves a radio. And, like, we'd be the kings of the radio airwaves. Because we'd be the only ones. I always knew that's how I would be the king, is like when everyone else died.
It's the easiest way.
Those evil dictators, they had something right.
It's a lot easier. Just let them all die and out-survive everybody.
Yeah, just got to step on all the dead bodies there. But yeah, on that gruesomely dark note, this has been Figure It Out, episode 3 of the 2nd season. It's been fun.
Hell yeah. Everybody, I hope you're still doing your charity miles. I've been slacking a little bit. I know I have, but I'm still on there.
Probably been kicking your butt on charity miles then, because I've been getting a good 2.5 miles every other day.
You're so far behind. Last I checked, I don't know.
Well, whatever. That's because you were on your bike before, and then I stopped for a while. But I'm back on it. I'm freaking focused. I'm disciplined. Ready.
Yeah, I'm on foot right now, so everywhere I put in my miles, I'm walking. But still getting on there. Everybody else, you should too. Other than that, this has been Figure It Out.